Another week down here in the world of waiting for Lightfall to drop. Hello, everyone. It's another Helm to Tower podcast. We're here. I'm Mike Burgess. I'm Burgess. I can't even say my own name. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. But where are you at, Alex O'Neill? How are you doing?
I'm good. Heightfall. I see. I'm not even. I can't even get my words. Hypefall.
Yeah, that's right. Hypefall for Lightfall. That's
Hypefall for Lightfall.
That's what the kids are saying.
That's what we're saying, at least. Yeah, just 3 more Tuesdays I have to survive, and then on the 4th, and on the 4th Tuesday.
Yeah, we're pretty much there. And yeah, as the weeks continue, we get a bunch more fun information and news and updates to talk about for Destiny 2, and that's what we're gonna do here on Helm Tower, our currently weekly Destiny 2 podcast here on the YouTube.com. I think we probably could get Helm Tower now. I think we can switch that. It's over a certain amount of subs. I should do that. I should also we should also finally get this podcast. Hopefully by the time this episode goes up, or pretty close to it, we should also have a audio version on podcast services that you can also listen to this on. I will try and do my best to get that set up for once this episode goes live. If it's not right when the episode is, I will say like probably that same week.
Okay.
Exciting. We will make that happen, so you'll be able to listen to us on audio in audio only forms. You know, if you look at our faces, or if you have like a podcast service you prefer rather than YouTube, you can check us out there too. But yeah, another week of Destiny happened. I will say I got a lot done in this week now, like thinking back on it. But I am also kind of almost, to be frank, in the mood to be like, yeah, maybe I'll just like take a week off, so to speak, and have a little bit of a recharge before we go super hard into a big expansion.
Yeah,
because I will say like the week that all this stuff came out, I did a number of things. Well, the last weekend that we could farm Deepstone Crypt, we did that. That was since our previous episode. I got the Descendant title.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I finally coerced a bunch of people to get me the last few challenges, which was nice and fun. So that's finally done. I did worked on some weapons, getting weapon patterns as well. And I need one more sniper. I should hopefully be getting that soon here. I have a clan raid set up, so hopefully we're gonna finish off some red borders for everybody in our clan, which would be fun.
Yeah, I also did some additional recreational grinding.
Yep,
in
the old recreational grinding.
I went into the forums, the boards, found the LFGs, and man, people were thirsty for it. It was like you would see an Atrax All Titans LFG go up, and then within 15 seconds it was full, which was like part of why I was like, I'm not going to sleep tonight anyway, so I should just, and that's more of a me thing.
Yeah, I should just give into it. I just give into it and accept it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I found like a lot of great groups, for once. Like I had pretty much 0 bummers, which is a nice rare.
Yeah.
Probably because the pool was so big, you cast a wide net.
You cast a wide net. Yeah.
Sure. And yeah, did a bunch of challenge runs on the 2nd and 3rd encounter. Yep. And then some extra Atrax runs, not necessarily hoping to get anything from that. I was like pretty sure I wouldn't get the LMG or anything by the time I was done.
Right.
Ended up getting it anyway, just because I got really lucky with that particular encounter. Nice. No Eyes of Tomorrow, but
still no eyes.
Still no eyes.
It'll lose us all, because that's the raid exotic that took me the longest to get as well. I finally got it after I think when I got it I was at like 20, at least like 25 clears, I think, for it to finally drop. Which is like compared to, well, besides the one dungeon exotic, that is like the most runs I've had to do for a raid exotic.
Yeah, I'm at 50 clears, going strong.
That's rough.
Yeah,
that's rough going.
This is going to be my white whale.
That's just how it goes. That's just how it goes sometimes. Yeah, we all have our white whales.
Of all of them, Destiny. To not get Eyes is the one I'm the most okay with not getting.
Yeah, it's kind of always been in a weird place. So that's a few raid exotics, to be fair, though, where it's just like, this is like good, but like they always don't want them to be so overpowered to an extent. So, but they're always still fun.
Yeah, but similarly, I am like very much winding down. This week I just did the like Ascendant challenge, got my bounty for that, and pretty much was like done.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's what I partially did, but also after that title cleared, I did do my second solo flawless dungeon, which is Prophecy. I did that. That was a lot of fun. I was happy to go in that dungeon again and be like, yeah, this dungeon's awesome. Like still is like probably like one of my probably my favorite one still.
Great.
Enjoyed that a lot. I was definitely surprised at how much like, oh yeah, Solar Laurel Titan is still probably like one of the best classes in the game, period, even with like the nerfs it's received. And also like the solo op and the weekend clear, like you're pretty powerful right now. Like holy crap! Like I was able to one phase the first boss by myself, very handily, just with like a week like Wither Horde, the Void Spinny Sword, and just my super. And I just one phased it. It's like it's a pretty damn powerful. I think it's also just a lot of that dungeon was also probably not designed with a lot of the 3.0 stuff in mind, so you're just really strong. But yeah, I'm glad I did that, and I got the cool sparrow and the
bunny ear ghost shell,
the bunny ear ghost shell, and the emblem, which is also really cool. Those are always like ones I wanted for sure out of all of the solo flawless stuff. So I was happy to be able to get that done. I also did my last GM. I did the last handful of GMs I had left, so now I'm Gilded Conqueror 7. Keeping the streak alive. GMs were like definitely compared to like some of the more previous seasons this year. It was definitely on the easier side, but still good time. I got some really good hung jury rolls, which I was pretty stoked about. I literally got 2 rapid hit explosive payload hung juries, and I was like, cool, I'm done. I have hung juries. I can delete these old ones that don't have origin traits.
Yeah,
done. Sweet. But yeah, that's what I did this week in the game. But yeah, now I'm like I've kind of done everything I've wanted to. Now it's just like a few like smaller straggler kind of sort of things, just to check off the box before I take a little bit off, so to speak, and just go play some other games, because now I have like a stockpile of games.
Yeah,
outside of Destiny that I want to go check out. So it's a good time for that. But even regardless, if there's there's always going to be a little bit of downtime in the world of Destiny gameplay, since we are in the lead up to Lightfall. There is tons of news to talk about still.
Oh yeah,
this week it was all guns, baby, all weapons. That's kind of that's definitely a theme I think they went for this week in terms of news, because we started the week off with a brand new trailer that dropped. It was a weapons and exotic gear trailer. They showed off a handful of new weapons coming with Lightfall, as well as 3 exotics for each class, 1 for each class. And they're all strand exotics, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, it seems like I'm betting we're gonna follow suit of kind of the amount of stuff we kind of got with Witch Queen, which was very good. In terms of all the weapons and exotics, they didn't show everything. They did say that. I think they said that like in the TWAB. We're kind of gonna combine some of the stuff that came with the TWAB in some of the other information in a what we're just going to talk about this week, just because the TWAB itself was like, or the weekly Bungie blog was so kind of, it was more of an aggregate of all the other information that they talked about for the week, and just rather than like dumping new news. So they kind of broke down. We kind of got the trailer. Good trailers always. Bungie always makes good trailers.
Yes.
It definitely came. Immediate impression was definitely just like these look cool. But the once they gave a little more clarifications, a lot of them made more sense. Also, we still don't know anything about Strand, so it was like cool to see Strand things in the trailer, but also like still don't really fully know what the heck all this is, what the heck of all this, what to make of all of it, so to speak. So
yeah,
still came way excited, but I was still just like, what? Okay, here's a little bit more. But now it's just I want to know information now at this point. I feel like is kind of where I'm at.
It raises some exciting questions that I'm sure we'll touch on. But I mean, at some point, one of these weeks is going to be like the Strand breakdown, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So
I think we're definitely going to get one.
Could be next week. It feels like rhythmically.
Yeah, that makes
smart.
sense. Yeah, maybe if they talk about all things weapons this week, maybe they'll do like all things abilities.
Yeah.
This coming week, and maybe that's where we'll get some Strand discussion finally. That's what I'm hoping for to make some sense of the armor exotics we saw. But let's talk about the guns here. You'll see, I had the trailer playing over us as we were chatting in the video, but they gave like a little bit better descriptions of the videos compared to how they kind of described them in the trailer in the TWAB, and some of like the press Bungie website also had some better breakdowns. So I'm just going to read these out. So the first one you saw was the final warning. It was a Strand kinetic sidearm. And basically with final warning, you will hold down the trigger for this kinetic slot Strand sidearm to mark targets within range and load a burst of bullets when hip firing. Load a burst of bullets. But when you're hip firing, projectiles track aggressively toward marked targets. So it's not exactly, so like definitely like if you saw people kind of talking about this, I think a lot of people had the immediate reaction of like, oh, it's cryosthesia, the stasis sidearm, but Strand. And that's not the case. They kind of clarified that in this article, and also there was a firing range a podcast, another Destiny 2 podcast. It's really good. It's really, they get really, really deep dived into it. It's hosted by Fallout and a bunch of bigger Destiny content creators, and they had a Bungie dev on there. He kind of gave a more direct comparison of like, it's more like, if you want to compare it more to another exotic, it's more like Tiku's and Devil's Ruin, where basically it is. And I will say, like, there's also like another clips they put out more on social media where they had these little like clips of like the slightly different clips of the exotics in action. I think that one showed a much better clip of how that works, where you can straight up see in that clip, like you can see it charging up, and they kind of you can't really see the UI of it like how it's like targeting specific enemies, but you can actually see it like charging in the hand from the first person view, and then it like basically like shoots off, like it almost kind of looks like a fusion rifle charge, where like it charges and then it like shoots off a bunch of stuff at once. And then those bullets will track to people. And then I definitely noticed too in both the trailers that like when the bullets like hit a target, they kind of like they almost look like Siva like effect on them, but like it's obviously green and Strand. So I'm curious if that's like a thing the weapon is doing, or if that's like another Strand like effect that's like it's triggering. I guess we don't really know. Like they didn't really say. So I'm guessing they didn't really say which, in some of these other exotics we'll get to, they kind of more clarified like Strand terms. So I'm guessing this might just be a product of the exotic and its tracking thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it looks cool. I like it's, again, it's like it's a sidearm. So like it's not going to be, the most flashy exotic, all things considered, right? Like, you can only do so much with a little dinky looking sidearm gun. But
I like how it looks though, like the design of it. I was a big fan of cryosthesia, so I'm always a fan of sidearms. It's a rapid fire frame, if folks were curious how it just shoots, which is cool. I'm an exotic rapid fire. I'm certainly going to use this a good amount.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe we'll loop back around to it at the end, but I'm curious which of these you think is going to be the the season pass exotic.
Yeah. I mean, not to spoil anything, but I don't think any of these are. And there's a reason for that. I don't think any of them are, because if you remember, reverse time back to the Witch Queen, and when they had a very similar trailer to this with Witch Queen, where they showed off a bunch of exotic weapons and armor. Yeah. And in that trailer, they showed Grand Overture, which was that season pass exotic. In the trailer, they specifically called that out. Like, they put a season pass required little asterisk like during the footage of Grand Overture, dignifying that, like, oh, it's the season pass exotic. They didn't do that at all for any of these in this. So I think there's still a possibility that we have not seen the seasonal exotic yet. I will, and then we'll talk about more of these, but there's like another thing I want to bring up in that regard, because they did say, again, in the TWAB, like these are they just kind of showed some exotics, but there will be more in Lightfall and stuff we haven't seen yet. Like, obviously, we didn't see the raid exotic in this trailer. Like, that's what people were saying that. Sure. And it's like, come on, man. Like, they're not going to show that.
Yeah, no.
They're not going to show that yet. But
not where we're at now. I think they know that to hold, especially with how secretive they're being about that raid.
Yes.
We'll talk about it later, but
yeah.
100%.
So yeah, I think there's still a lot of exotics we have not seen that will come with Lightfall. They're just
at least one more armor for every class as well. I think. So.
Yeah, agreed. I agree with that as well. We'll get to that. The next one in the trailer they showed off was Deterministic Chaos. Now, this is a Void heavy machine gun. Here's like a description of it that says, while holding the trigger, every fourth bullet of this Void machine gun becomes a heavy projectile that weakens targets on impact. Every fourth heavy projectile makes targets volatile on impact. So that makes that little description there made that machine gun make a lot more sense than what they show in the trailer, because they were like every fourth shot makes them weak, and then they're like every 16th shot makes them suppress them. So it's like, okay, what, you want me sitting here counting bullets over here? Like, that's a little too much. Where like now like that'll probably make that more clear, where you can probably see, like, I'm assuming, like, once you're using the gun, there will probably be much more easier tells to see, like, oh, okay, I just shot a heavy projectile, this first heavy projectile, but now I'll be able to see when, like, the difference probably between regular shots and that heavy projectile that's coming out. I would hope.
Yeah.
So that sounds cool.
This one's really cool because they, in the initial trailer, they described it as rhythmic debuffs, and it's cool because, like, obviously a measure is 4 notes. So at the end of every measure or measures, I guess, could be more than that. I'm not as good with musical terms, but, you know, every 4th note and then every 16th note would be the end of 4 measures,
right?
At a certain time code. So I'm curious. Knowing Bungie, I'm sure they kind of lined up the sound design and the rate of fire on the gun to, like, have some kind of, like, musical timing to it. That has, like, a rhythm, and I can't wait to hear the sound on this gun, because I feel like it's gonna be really good. Yeah,
that could be really cool. And I like this general idea that they've been doing a little bit more and more of this, like, more, like, I feel like in these kind of, like, past few, like, seasons and expansions, where they're making exotics that aren't, like, necessarily the DPS, like, gun, the one gun to use, quote unquote, but they're making guns that are more like, they feel like they are, like, primers to like help your teammates be, like, doing extra damage kind of guns. Or, like, that's like, I feel like Galahorn, like, the new version of Galahorn was very much that, where it gives other rockets, legendary rockets, those buffs. Something like this, where you're like, you know, you can unload with the machine gun and suppress, and volatile and be doing your damage with that, but then also, you know, that's suppressing and weakening them. That'll allow you know, your teammates to do stuff with that. So, like, that could be, like, an interesting weapon to, like, use in that way of, like, kind of applying suppression and debuffs and stuff, like it said. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I like that approach to that stuff, because it makes the weapons not just it still makes them viable weapons to use in certain activities, rather than just, oh, it's not doing enough damage, get it out of here. You know what I mean? Go in the vault immediately. So the next one they showed we're gonna jump down here because they this is a exotic that's already in the game. Is the pre-order exotic Quicksilver Storm. It's getting a catalyst, as they did say that. So basically, as it is now, you can pre-order Lightfall and you get this gun right now in the game. But when Lightfall releases, there'll be, I think, a catalyst for it that will drop, and you'll get instant access to that probably if you already have it. But basically, this is kind of one of the first things they showed in the trailer that related to probably a Strand verb that we're going to probably be dealing a lot with once we actually have Strand, which this is the exotic auto rifle's grenade kills. The grenade it makes like after you kind of shoot some stuff will now make a Strand tangle on kills. And then they basically, if you saw in the trailer, he kills a guy, makes this weird little green Strand orb floating around in the air. And the Guardian picks it up and throws it at an enemy. And the enemy is already like tied up in the green strand and explodes. So this is definitely one of the first time where it's like, okay, Strand tangled. Interesting, but what can you do with this thing? We don't really fully know yet. We saw obviously throw at a person that does things and explodes. Clearly want to throw it at enemies and it'll do things, but like, will it naturally make an enemy explode like that if they're just on their own? Or, do they need to be like stranded up in the threads or if they're in those threads, if you do certain strand effects to them, that's what makes them explode like that. Or, those are the questions that like start popping up for sure. So it's like, okay, interesting, but
we'll
have to wait and see.
People were throwing out the Diamond Lance comparison. To kind of draw a comparison to Stasis. Definitely seems like that could be potentially like a similar type of thing.
Right.
But we also see another kind of usage of strand tangles that might be like way more specific later. So who knows?
We'll get into that for sure. So we're doing. We'll just go over all the weapons first, and then we'll go back to the exotics because again, that's where all the Strand talk comes from. But they showed one more weapon. This weapon is already is already mirrored in controversy, or whatever you want to call it. And
the monkey paws finger curled in on itself.
Indeed did. This is winter.
My Strand Glaive comment last week curls in the monkey's paw.
As we get, that's right, as we get Winter Bite, an exotic Stasis Glaive that is in the heavy slot. So it is is considered a heavy weapon, and basically when you, it says here that it can just shoot a giant freezing orb that you'll see in the trailer, just shoots a big ice ball, and the ball travels around and also shoots projectiles out of itself that will then like hit enemies, and when it hits enemies, it like instantly freezes them and also explodes them in like a stasis shatter. So it seems pretty effective from a like stasis freezing and like that kind of aspect, but like
heavy slot's it's a heavy sought out spot,
heavy slot's is gonna have always has a very tough contention, because ultimately the majority of the time is a DPS weapon slot for a lot of stuff in the game, and probably still will be in Lightfall. So it's hard to say if this glaive can stand up to that kind of stuff. Like I can see it having utility in like certain activities, because obviously we know like champion stuff is changing a lot with Lightfall, and so like having this glaive that can freeze things at a very insane rate could be interesting. Depending on if we have what kind of anti-champion mods we have that could make this glaive an interesting thing. People also brought up the idea of like, since it's a heavy slot weapon, like will the melee be way more damaging, like a sword, like considering we have swords as heavy weapons and they do a lot more melee damage. Like could this glaive be maybe like a slower melee attack, but it's like way more powerful? we don't know for sure, but yeah, it is like you said, is a monkey ball thing of. I get it because you look at that thing and like it looks from that trailer looked really strong with that giant ice ball, and you're just like, all right, are they going to be like the other glaives that have like the weird activations and like the setups you got to do? So like those can be kind of little weird to use, and like that's probably the kind of the thing they kind of have to do to keep them in check, so to speak. Because if you could just freely do some of their things, they'd be I think almost way too powerful. So like they probably had to keep them in check in some ways. So like maybe this is how they're doing that, where like they saw people like, okay, they don't really like the weird, like, all right, for every exotic glaive you have to do this weird shoot everything and to charge it up and then reload it, and you have like a limited time to use this thing, and it uses up so much ammo that you're just like using up all this ammo to use the glaives in the first place.
And your whole shield,
Yeah, and you're using an exotic slot for that same to get those effects, when you can just run a legendary glaive that can roll a bunch of perks that do a lot of really good things and you can have a lot more synergy with, because you can pair them with exotics and the more interesting craftable perks you can put on them. So this is yeah, it's gonna be tricky. Like I think it'll unfortunately maybe be hurt by the fact that it's in a heavy weapon slot, but like, hey, at least they're willing to make they clearly they've heard the calls of like, all right, people want stasis and strand glaives and all this stuff. I'm sure they're thinking about it. Like I don't think this will be the last stasis glaive we see or strand glaive we will see soon enough.
Yeah, I mean we're like 3 steps closer to my dream of having a glaive in every slot. So like,
right.
At the end of the day, I'll take it. Extremely happy. And it is like my favorite glaive combo now, as I've talked about before, is the Karnstein Warlock with glaive to get the health pack on melee kill. It is interesting, and it does like allow for that build to in some ways become more powerful because it frees up both of your other slots, which can still do plenty of things. And then you can always switch to your heavy even without ammo to potentially do a more powerful melee to get health back. So there's still like certain utility and use for it.
Right.
The thing is gigantic. So
yeah,
it's fair that you could assume that this Trident S thing is heavy.
Yeah. My hope as I will out myself as a Destiny like a close equivalent of a Destiny whale, where I buy a lot of the ornaments and exotics and things. I would love a weapon ornament that makes this just look like a proper like Poseidon looking gold trident. Like that would be pretty rad if this got an ornament like that someday.
More Trident glaives is an okay thing.
I'm totally cool with that as well. Yep, for sure.
And I want to take a minute because I hadn't checked yet. Go back to last week's episode when the comment section, Calvin Davis did comment strand glaive in all caps.
All caps strand glaive. Yep.
And I see you liked it.
Yep.
And I just want to say thank you, Calvin. Thank you for watching, and thanks to Sir McNeil for commenting as well.
There's dozens of us.
There's dozens of us
for strand glaives out here.
The glaive gang. But I don't think this rules out the possibility of there being a legendary glaive in the kinetic slot either.
Right. For sure.
So, just keep that in mind. I am curious what the melee damage, like the aggressive frame glaive, Judgment of Kelgrath, does do more melee damage. And then it has close to melee, the first melee damage perk for glaives. So I do think this will do more melee damage. Probably not that much more, just so it's not broken.
Right.
But I don't know. I still think this will be great with any stasis warlock with like Nezrak grip on. Who cares? It'll be great.
Yeah. They'll be fun to have with it, even if it's not the thing I'm going to be, bringing into a raid every time to do DPS. Like it's fine. Like not every weapon needs to be that. Not every weapon needs to be a DPS raid meta weapon, and not every weapon needs to be like the must use thing at all times. Like there should be variety. So I'm fine with
for
this.
Sure.
So those were the weapons that we saw. Oh yeah, go ahead.
And we don't know for sure yet. Quicksilver Storm's bullets are now green with the catalyst. I don't think it's crazy to assume that the catalyst will turn it into a strand weapon. Maybe even just the season 20 update is going to turn it into a strand gun. It's definitely shooting green bullets. So
yeah, for sure. Very, very interesting.
Here for it. Love that gun.
Yeah,
so
that'd be cool. I'm curious to see if they convert that. That'd be cool. Interesting thing. Like if that's what the catalyst does. It like makes it strand.
Yeah, which would be a first for a catalyst, changing the elemental type. Even I know it's kinetic, same slot, whatever, but it's interesting and it has potential for future use as well.
Yeah, for sure. So let's circle back to these exotics that we saw for each class. They were also featured in the trailer. Like I said, they're all strand related exotics. So the first one we see, which I'm not even gonna attempt to name.
I got you. It's Certarachne's facade. We figured it out. We did a little research.
Nice. You heard it from the sources.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. We
the
Certarachne is a word. Apparently, I don't know what it means, but it is a word that exists.
Yeah. I guess they put it on this thing. So Certarachne's facade is a hunter helmet. Exotic helmet, so it's for the hunter gang out there. This exotic helmet gives extra protection as hunters gain armor and flinch resistance as they grapple. So they show like straight up like for the first time finally we see a strand thing in some PvP.
Yeah.
Here and you see basically a hunter grapple up to this upper area in one of the Titan PvP map. And after they get out of the grapple, you can see they kind of have a green, like basically looks like a green overshield over them. And they then get into like a gunfight with a guardian from a distance. The guardian shoots him while he has a sniper, and it's not doing anything. And then he just pops him. Something they did mention about this, and we also will talk about another exotic for the Titan that also gives the shield that they clarified. I think it was I think it might have been in the firing range thing, but I did see this clarified somewhere, is that this whatever this overshield is, it's called woven mail is what they called it in the trailer.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming woven mail will be a thing for Strand, maybe.
Seems like it.
Like it's basically like how Void has
overshield.
Void overshields. This will be woven mail will be the strand overshields essentially, but they have clarified that it does not cover the head, so it leaves your head vulnerable for like a headshot. So you'll still take full headshot damage with this woven mail on, but anywhere else you have like more of a protection and like kind of like a shield if you're taking damage in that. So that's like an interesting way to kind of, I guess, try and balance that. We'll see how that is.
It's really interesting because this is the first. Stasis has no buffs, right? It's kind of like the only class now that doesn't have any buffs. So it means we have no darkness buffs. It would be really cool to see Strand. Obviously, there's a lot of debuff things going on that we, in the tangles. Suspended is probably like the best way to describe like all the stranded up dudes, So if there's like an armor buff that gives damage resistance, it seems like in PvE it's only given flinch resistance. In PvP I feel like they would have mentioned that in this if it was actually giving DR, which is always contentious. But that sounds really cool. I never thought of Strand as like a utility class outside of aerial movement, but that could be like a really cool thing if there's a way to like give armor to your allies.
It'd be really cool as well. And like I guess you can make like probably how they're making sense out of it is because like Strand's whole thing is like they're like weaving and creating things. So you can we can word it as like they're creating like a woven armor of Strand, or they're weaving a set of armor or whatever. So like I can see them making that an idea, and it seems like it will be like a thing because we'll go to the next exotic they showed, which was Abeyant Leap. This is Titan exotic legs. And this basically is when Titans use their barricade with this exotic leg armor, it spawns seeking projectiles that suspend enemies and give armor to its wielder. So as you can see, they can create this similar woven armor for them using this exotic and a barricade. Now we've seen this, like the energy blast you see in the trailer. This energy blast was in a previous trailer too, where you just saw them do like a single one.
Yeah,
so
a
singular one. They also refer to it in the trailer as a lash. It shoots multiple lashes, is what the trailer calls them. So I'm assuming lashes is just a strand thing.
Yeah, seems like a thing that can suspend enemies.
Yeah, because you see it. Yeah, exactly. They shoot it out in these trailers, and once it hits an enemy, it ties them up into the strand threads or whatever that'll end up called. So that ties them up. The legs let you do basically a spread shot of 3 of those. Basically, you see it's like a big spread shot across the ground that shoots those blasts out, and it threads them up. So yeah, that could be interesting because it gives them a shield too. This is like Titans are in a weird spot in general because I already saw the immediate reaction from a lot of people who are really the Titans were like, if Heart of Inmost Light does not get nerfed, like this thing is immediately useless. This is like how a lot of people are immediately saying, which is like that's a fair criticism because like Hoyle, you can use Hoyle and get all those abilities faster, and get your grapple back faster, get a barricade that can still shoot a lash out, probably from some aspect the Titan has. There might be some other way to get yourself an overshield super fast, and so I kind of get it from that perspective. Like, you probably would not want to. I can see myself like I don't really know if I want to use something like Hoyle or this over something like Hoyle that would be just like so much more universally effective.
Yeah.
So I could see, unless but I also see the other end of like there probably is a nerf coming.
Sure. And we talked about it last week of like how I'm excited for the sandbox breakdown, and I feel like we got half of that this last week with it being weapons, the other half being abilities and stuff, and exotics are gonna get nerfed. Like similarly, like Fallen Sunstar, the Warlock helmet, it's just so good. There's just no reason to run anything else on Arc. So similarly, I feel like that's gonna get nerfed. Sorry everybody, it's just the truth. I will say, accept your fate. The sooner you get over it, the better. I think a big part of this is like, especially with like loadouts coming, is having an exotic to pair with Strand, because and obviously there will be, I have Another World, Heart of Inmost Light. There are going to be these things that are great for all subclasses, of course. But I do like, it took us like 9 months to get the first Stasis exotic armor pieces, right? I can't even remember. Wasn't it?
We got him with Witch Queen.
It was Witch Queen, yeah. It was Icefall Mantle and Osmiomancy, and then the Hunter got one before that, right?
What's it? It might have been
Dustfield Grenade one. I forget what it's called.
It might have been that season before, but I think that might have been Witch Queen also.
It might have been, It might have been the other one, because I know they also got an Arc exotic, but everyone else got Void exotics. Was like a big thing, like or I guess the Titans didn't get it until the next season. So. So that's why it's they said there would be more exotics with this, because I looked back on this too. Witch Queen, we got a stasis exotic for each class. So it was I believe it was Renewal Grass, which are the Titan. Renewal Grass. Those are the Hunters one. Then we got Osmiomancy, and Hoarfrost was the Titan one where you make like the big ice wall instead of a shield. And then we got 3 just other general use exotics, where we got like the bad Arc Hunter one that still is not very good. I'm pretty sure we got Lorelei helmet. That's right, Lorelei
with Witch Queen, and then Seekins.
And then Warlock's got Seekins, yeah.
So I'm assuming it'll be the same here, where we probably get 3 strand exotics, and then we'll get 1 exotic for the other subclasses. Per class. Yeah,
probably a light exotic for all the other 3. So I think it's really good to, if you're making a loadout and you're making your strand loadout, to have an exotic that is there to pair with it.
Right.
And I think that's better than how it was before, where we had to wait forever to at least have something that's like, okay, like I can use Strand with this thing.
Right. For sure.
And, you know, like we'll get more Stasis exotics and we'll get more Strand exotics. Like if these are not your flavor, like we'll get more. It's fine.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. People will use what they want to use, for sure. And this one seems fine, but yeah, it is again one of those things. Like I said, like we still don't really know the full capabilities of Strand, so we don't know if like shooting a lash and threading up enemies could be some super meta important thing. Who knows? Who doesn't know? Maybe there's some other. Maybe getting the armor, woven mail armor, is like some really big thing because it procs some other thing. Or lets you do some other thing on Strand. Like, we just don't know all the details yet of that stuff.
Yeah, I will say, because we talked about the armor, and I wanted to see if it did happen. And yeah, in that video, after the barricade goes up with the Titan, you can see the armor proccing, just like on the Hunter. So that does make me think that woven mail, or whatever it is going to be a buff universal to Strand, which is cool. Yeah,
it's cool. The classes will have someone to get it. That's why it makes me think for this next part, the last exotic for the Warlocks also makes me think, you know, like we said, Tangles. Tangles will probably also be some kind of universal thing that you're able to make with Strand because of how they're described. Basically, the Warlock legs, they are also getting legs, is called Swarmers. This new exotic leg armor allows the Warlocks to create a threadling to infest and attack enemies after destroying a Tangle. So that's why. So basically, you know, like we said, Quicksilver Storm will be able to make a Tangle on a kill, but I'm assuming they're probably not going to force all Warlocks to always use Quicksilver Storm at all times to create a Tangle, right? Like that would be kind of unintuitive. The same way, like probably Threadlings are probably going to be a Warlock aspect because this was more the first direct showing of it in a trailer. They did show it in a previous trailer. We actually did see it a little bit in one of the other trailers. This is when they more directly showed it, where a Warlock has these on. You know, there's Tangles that were made out in the field, and then one of them shoots one of them and explodes, and a bunch of little Threadlings come out. Then they run across the ground and blow up some dudes.
Interesting. So, it's such a. I wonder what happens if you shoot a Tangle without these boots. You know.
Yeah, I'm assuming they'll just like explode because like it does kind of make a big huge explosion when it's there. But yeah, again, it could be a thing where like that explosion, it could be like a stasis thing where like, you know, it's having the stasis fully frozen and then to shatter them is like an effect, right? Like a stasis shatter is an effect. I wonder if like the Strand, like the explosion could be like Strand burst or whatever, or explosion and have like a specific, you know, effect there. Again, it's just like it's hard to fully know what these things are other than just like, you know, they're all cool and flashy looking, of course, obviously. It looks great. And I'm excited for all this stuff, but it's like it's hard to fully know. And now I'm just at that point where it's like, all right, we've seen it. We've seen so many trailers. I'm ready, Bungie. Just give me the deets. Give me the deets. Give me. I need it.
I went back and watched the Stasis trailer this week just to, you know, get myself in the mood. Damn, that was a good trailer.
Yep. Some really good trailers. Like, some really good trailers still. Yep.
The Warlock only had Frost Pulse. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I know, right?
And yeah, it was still a good trailer. So
still a really good trailer.
Yeah, so I'm very curious myself. I'm like enjoying the guessing game of like what do these do? Just because like this is probably gonna be like the last week that we don't know.
Yeah.
And it's just gonna be a whole new ball game when we get there and start slotting in fragments anyway. So.
Yeah, start getting the fragments and the aspects and what they all do. For sure. Yeah. We're definitely getting close. Fun. Yeah, it's a fun trailer overall. And again, it was clarified as I think it was a pretty safe assumption in my personal opinion too. You know, these are the words directly from the Bungie, the weekly blog. More exotic weapons and armor pieces coming with Lightfall, and of course some cool legendary ones. We're keeping the details about those undercover from now. But I did some sleuthing of myself.
Oh.
And something that I think was overlooked just a little bit And again, this could, I went back and was looking through some trailers, and obviously the first reveal for Lightfall was that CG trailer where we see a lot of the cool Guardians, running around, jumping out of windows. You hear Callus being Callus, and the witnessing and all that. But there's
witnessing.
So,
bear witness.
Bear witness.
Witness me.
Witness me. That's what he yells. The iconic line from the Witness in the Lightfall trailer.
In Lightfall trailer.
There's a few shots in that trailer where the Guardians that are running around, they're shooting at Cabal and stuff. They have a selection of weapons that some we've seen. One in particular, there's a shot of a Titan. He's using Quicksilver Storm. You can tell because you see him he does a reload of it. You can see the weird silvery spike thing that's on Quicksilver Storm get loaded in as he's reloading it. So you can clearly see that. There's a Hunter who has this hand cannon that we've also seen in the Lightfall promo art. If you go look at the main promo art when they've revealed it, there's this Hunter in the corner, and he has this big crazy looking hand cannon with a big silencer and a scope on it. That's in that CG trailer too. So that clearly is some kind of weapon. I'm gonna assume it is some kind of exotic, because we've now also seen with this Lightfall reveal that we probably talk about a little bit. They updated the Bungie Lightfall website page with a bunch of images, and they showed the Lightfall weapon, the Neomuna weapons, are at least a set of Neomuna weapons that are the neon-y kind of pink, purpley looking weapons that we've seen in some of the trailers.
All the reskin people are upset about.
Yeah, they're upset because they look like they're kind of reskins of the moon weapons more or less, but they're shinier and newer. It's not I don't give a flying F about that.
If
frankly,
it's good.
Yeah, they're gonna have completely different perks and probably different archetypes and all kinds of stuff. It's fine. So it's fine, whatever. But yeah, the you see in that same shot of basically it's you see the whole lineup of all three of them, and they're reloading these weapons as they're walking towards and shooting. So you see the Hunter with the hand cannon in the corner, and center is a Warlock with a special grenade launcher of some kind, and they show that a couple times throughout the trailer too. So if both of these, we have Quicksilver Storm, and we have this hand cannon that's in multiple market materials, and this grenade launcher. I'm assuming these two are actual weapons that will be coming to the game in some fashion. Maybe they're both exotics, or maybe there's some other set of legendary weapons we haven't seen yet. I don't think they're going to be tied to the season stuff, just because this is a Lightfall thing, and obviously season stuff gets moved and changed around and removed, and so I don't think that's why I'm not thinking that's either of those would be a season pass exotic, because that season will go away and then it's going to be in a kiosk, right? I think these are just going to be other exotics that we'll get through Lightfall. Yeah. Potentially. Or maybe there's another set of legendary weapons they haven't shown us yet that'll come from maybe some other activity, because I know there's another activity they talk about on that page that Bungie updated there. It's called Terminal Overload. It's a 6-player activity. Another one of those. So maybe that has its own set of weapons or something that we haven't seen yet.
That makes sense.
But those two weapons I wanted to shout out, because I definitely did not see. I never saw people talking about the hand cannon from the key art, but that same hand cannon you can also see it if you kind of slow down and look through some of the scenes of the CG trailer. You can see that too, and you see that grenade launcher, the special grenade launcher, the Warlock uses in that trailer as well. So I'm assuming these are either going to be two other exotics we'll get, or two other legendary weapons of some kind.
Yeah, I was watching it while you were describing it. Mm-hmm. Definitely agree. And there's also in the weapons trailer that we got this last week, the scout rifle from Nightfall, or from Strikes that people noticed. I forget what it's called.
Nameless Midnight. It was a year one. Strike Nightfall scout rifle that apparently people liked a lot for a year one gun. So that's going to be back probably. I'm guessing it's probably going to be a playlist. It's going to be the playlist weapon drops. That's cool.
With random rolls probably for the first time, which is exciting.
Random rolls and origin perks and all that. So that'll be fun. But yeah,
I did Yeah. I did get Nameless Midnight at some point, a precision frame.
Yeah, okay. I probably did too, but I honestly did not remember it either when people were calling out. I was like, oh, okay, sure. It does.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
It looks like it definitely does look like a year one gun.
Yeah, it does.
But I don't remember getting that. Sure.
Very Vanguard looking, classic Vanguard aesthetic. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else we didn't cover, but
trailer wise, I think that was pretty much everything. We can jump to this blog. I don't know if we wanted to go over any things that were on because that just happened the same day. Was
on the website. Yeah, let's talk about that while we're on the topic.
Yeah,
this raid description. I'm obsessed, as Mike knows, with trying to figure out what the raid is before it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how secret Bungie is about it. So I don't want like anybody to come out and be like, yes, it's this. We talked about it a little bit last week. Yeah, it's just they made the raid description more cryptic than the previous one. I forget exactly what the previous was. It was something like
the previous one at least told us it was on a pyramid. Like it was
on redacted.
Yeah,
is what it was.
Yeah. Well, it told us no, they did tell us it was on the pyramid ship in the throne world. That's all they told us.
Oh yeah, last year, yes.
For last year,
in a pyramid ship.
For the Witch Queen raid, yes. They like this similar description on that page showed us like, hey. But yeah, this one they like updated it with this page, and here I'll just read it here for folks. Ferried from an unknown time and place, a haunting presence has been detected. We must now confront the ancient threat growing at our doorstep. Is what the
what does that mean?
What does that mean? I don't know. There's a lot of different paths they could go, like a lot of different things you could pull from that. It's just it's so vague. Yeah, like it's hard to even say.
It's so cryptic. Like ferried makes me think that, and you brought up like, hey, unknown time, it's probably Vex related in some way, which is smart.
Yeah.
But ferried makes me think like the witness brought it with them.
Sure.
And it growing at our doorstep, ancient threat growing at our doorstep also makes me think it's more directly related to the witness and its fleet. But yeah, I just, the only thing that is like tickling in my brain, for the folks watching that are also like ravenously excited about this, is the stuff about, Revision 0 that we've been learning from this season is about how, the anomaly on the moon, it seems like maybe the original Hake company cut off some of that black rock, bad juju, bad anomaly stuff and tried to make a gun out of it, which turned into Revision 0, which is extremely interesting. And the thing that ties back to the anomaly is like that space monster that sounds like metal ripping things apart or whatever. I forget what it's called. Not the Aphelion. That sounds right, but I don't think that's it.
I think the Aphelion was like related to like the Dreaming City and like that kind of stuff. But I don't know if that. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not. I know some Destiny lore, but I'm not. I've heard that name, but I do not know enough about that to know if that's the same monster or not. But I know the general thing you're talking about.
Yeah, generally the like we've heard this thing described in a couple of pretty obscure lore entries, like on the tier of like something like Nezarec, right? That's like it attacked like an awoken ship. It was like them when they were studying the anomaly at Mars. There's something that is like where my theory crafting brain has taken me, but who knows? It's just so cryptic.
It really is. Like it can. I think it's gonna. I think it can go either way because it's like we still don't know. Because I think it could be something the witness. Because like you said, growing at your doorstep is a good call out. Because I know like there's also that whole scene where the witness is like in that one trailer from the Game Awards where he's like open up the path and like all those crazy branches and shit coming up. Maybe he's opened some door to some crazy realm that he's trying to get to, or that it's trying to get to, or whatever. And maybe that's the raid. Like maybe then he opens his path to this thing, and then we have to like chase him into it or something to like go into. Then that's like the raid, or whatever that realm, that crazy realm is, or whatever.
Yeah, and there was another interview from last week that I was gonna bring up, but I just didn't see the need to. Now, of course, after we get this new info, it seems a little bit more relevant.
Mm-hmm.
From GameSpot, where they were talking to like some of the lore devs about the Vex and how potentially they could be more like we could figure like where is the Vex in all of this, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
We don't know. They're the kind of wild card weirdly out of all of the enemy races right now.
Yeah.
And obviously the Black Garden is loyal to the Witness in some regard, but the rest of the Vex, like who knows?
Right.
And this could be basically the Bungie devs say like, hey, maybe where we have ideas for the Vex might become more clear after Lightfall. This maybe ties into that as well of like, maybe the Vex found what they were looking for, you know?
Right. Yeah, for sure. And that's they've definitely have hinted at like the Vex. The Vex have a pretty large presence on Neomuna from all the footage we've seen, and they've definitely talked about there's a reason they're there, and like we that's like a big definitely question mark that we don't know yet. So and that's why I kind of also thought this would potentially be a Vex raid, is because the first part of this was varied from an unknown time and place. So talking about like traveling through time and different bringing things from different times and other things like that. It was a big part of the Vex, where they think time is, they can travel through time and do all these things with Vex technology and stuff. So so like there could be something there. We've seen also like we go into the Vex network for whatever reason in this from the Destination trailer, where it showed a bunch of areas and it showed clearly the Vex network we're going to at some point. We don't know if that's like a story mission, or if that's like a strike, or if that's like some kind of other thing. Like maybe that's a 6-player activity for whatever reason. Like maybe post campaign, we learn about what the heck is going on with the Vex, and then we have to do like something to stop them or do whatever with the Vex or whatever they're trying to do. We just don't know. And it's definitely one of the big questions. Like that game, that's a good pick up from the GameSpot article. That's like one of the big question marks still left as we kind of even going into Lightfall and going beyond that for Final Shape. Like there's still such a big question mark of like what are they doing here? Like what is their involvement in all this? They've been so important to Destiny for all this time as one of like the major factions, and they just have not had a major role in quite some time in like the current storyline. So I'm very curious.
Yeah. And also Asher Mir, is somewhere in the Vex
something
mind space,
whatever he's
that's
on about.
That's certainly going to be like a final season, like the last 4 seasons thing for sure. I just wonder if maybe that's sooner rather than later. But I'll end my speculation corner. I just want to get the kids out there, get your minds thinking.
We don't know what that raid is yet. We'll know soon enough here.
Also, new enemy race. I'm just going to say that once, and then we'll move on.
Go ahead. We'll move on because that's probably not going to happen. But anyway, that was the weapons and gear trailer, and there's tons. I definitely recommend also going to the Bungie.net website in Lightfall and just look at all the fucking cool ass art. There's a lot of really cool,
so good art.
They posted in some screenshots for Strand stuff and other.
Yeah, we got the Strand icon. We know what it looks like now.
Yeah, it's a bunch of cool little details on that page now. Definitely worth perusing if you'd like. But after that trailer, following up after that, the day after, we got a season 20 weapons tuning blog from the man himself, Chris Proctor, who's like the weapons design lead for Bungie, and he just basically broke down. We've heard it before from them that there was going to be a big PvE heavy weapons adjustments coming for Lightfall, and he kind of breaks a lot of that down, plus a lot of exotics that we're going to get 3.0 verbs. So there's a whole ton of stuff. So let's start it here.
good to have this sooner rather than later. We were worried this would be like the week before.
Yeah,
but I'm glad we have this now.
Yeah, and I also don't mind if this is not going to do it, because obviously, like we mentioned, like we got the weapons focused discussion here, and I'm assuming maybe the week where this will drop, we might get the armor discussion or the ability discussion, like what's going to change there. So we'll see what kind of stuff we'll start getting, but definitely they've talked about there'll be more blogs and things of that nature in the coming weeks. There's still definitely things I want to know for sure before we get into Lightfall. But let's get into this weapons tuning. They kind of start off by pointing out the obvious, like we pretty much all knew was coming. They're bringing linear fusion rifles down a peg finally. And they're reducing their damage across the board. But to champions and bosses and all kinds of the heavier enemy types, the big bad enemy types, they're reducing their damages, but they did say the exotic ones will be unaffected, or the heavy exotic ones will be unaffected, which is Sleeper, Simulant, and Queenbreaker. I still don't think anybody's going to get Queenbreaker, but it's happy to hear Sleeper Simulant is still on top, baby. Get ready to bust that back up for Lightfall.
So 15% nerf across the board. Do you think this is enough?
I think it's enough for some linears. The one I think will be totally fine still is Cataclysmic, just because of bait and switch. That particular perk combo is in the buff that particular perk gives is still really good. So I think 15% will knock it down, but I think it'll still be able to be still one of the better DPS options in the game for sure. And the same with Sleeper. I think Sleeper was probably one of those ones that didn't really has still probably always been decent, but just because you could run a legendary linear and probably get pretty much as much damage as that could do in some regards, why waste a exotic slots? That makes sense for them to make that a little bit more appealing. If you enjoyed some linear fusion stuff, you can still kind of get that with that.
I think, and that's good because Cataclysmic being the raid exotic,
still a raid weapon,
or not raid weapon, raid legendary. I think that it gives it a little bit of prestige, and obviously there's a lot you got to put into that to make it work, and it's only good for 10 seconds. So
exactly.
I think that's fine. I worry that they might just get hit again, which I wouldn't want. I do think that this is okay. Obviously, we'll get to it. It's the last thing, but Vice Stinger also got nerfed pretty bad.
Yeah, and I think I definitely think this hits that one particular the Taipan. That's Sing Hearts, which I in a similar way I also get because that was extremely easy to get and is craftable. So you only needed 2 crafted patterns to get. So it was the easiest one to get in the game. So a lot of people are going to have it, which is which is good to an extent, but after a certain point, I think you don't want a lot of those, or you want to give a new one for everyone to go get. So people will go and get it instead of just using Taipan all over for forever. So I'm okay with this. Another thing to point out, which was again, a lot of these things we're going to go over where there was this blog came out, and then that same night there was a Firing Range podcast. Again, great podcast. Definitely go listen to it from those folks. They had Mercules on from Bungie, and he kind of clarified some things because they basically, this came out and then they pulled a bunch of questions from the community and he answered them more or less.
The same night too, which it was crazy. Apparently cool. He got approval for that day as well, which is cool that they were like, yeah, we should get somebody out there to talk about this.
Yeah, for sure.
Again, thank you, Bungie.
Yeah, always great at communicating. But they clarified that the part of this nerf is the other not heavy exotic linears are getting hit by this are included in this nerf. So Arbalist and Lorentz Driver are getting this damage nerf as well. There is another buff we'll talk about, but apparently this still, even with that change, technically Arbalest is in that, but it is still an overall damage nerf to Arbalest, still, even with that other buff that is happening. So
about a 5% nerf to Arbalest, which feels right. That's fine.
Yeah, Arbalest already got a nerf before, but like it's still, I think
very good.
It's still very good. It's like it's very much still that very powerful utility weapon, and I think that's good for that. It did not also need to be utility and like hella damage.
Yeah,
like agreed. It was. Next up, I feel like another much needed buff here was machine guns. Machine guns are getting a 10% damage buff across the board. And there's a bunch of very specific TTK updates, which basically is more of a Crucible kind of buff, where they basically a lot of the different frames of machine guns will be able to kill a bit faster in PvP. But also they increased ammo reserves by 50%. And that basically means if you have reserve ammos on, or basically baseline ammo is up for heavy machine guns, but then if you also use reserve mods, that'll go up even higher. So they will have a lot more ammo in reserve, which is really cool. And this is pretty much all legendary machine guns, and also some exotic ones. The ones that were pointed out specifically were Grand Overture is getting the damage buff, but is not getting the increase in magazine size. Xenophage is not getting either of these buffs, unfortunately, but I also kind of get that because they reverted a bunch of the nerfs they did to it a while ago, and it is very good, as it is now. But a lot of the other exotic ones are getting this. That this will include stuff like Thunderlord and Heir Apparent, and I think even probably Sweet Business too. Or that's considered an auto rifle. I forget. I always forget. I never.
Yes.
I never use that enough, so I forget if it's considered an auto.
It
rifle
is auto rifle.
Or machine gun, but
that's exciting. More reserves is gonna help machine guns a lot, I think.
Yeah, same. And I will say, we'll get deeper into these buffs, but I would get your Grand Overtures ready for next season in Lightfall, because they seem like they're going to be extremely good. All things considered, with some other buffs that are going to be coming, because it was already really good this season because they did some other buff before, and the Rockets are even right now are nuking champions if you get the setup. So now it's getting even more damage. It's pretty nuts. So that's gonna be fun. Thunderlord meta is here, I believe.
Finally.
Next up, another buff that I think a lot of people were kind of speculating to happen, because it's been a while since these have been relevant, and that were heavy grenade launchers. So heavy grenade launchers are getting a 20% buff to champions, bosses, mini bosses, and then a 40% buff to miners, which is pretty huge buff, all things considered. They also are making them easier to kind of, they improve projectile collision and they increase the blast radius. So overall, they're going to be easier to hit as well with that. The biggest news of this all, I think, definitely was the clarification. It was said multiple times on Twitter, and also then Mercury said it himself. This does include Anarchy, so Anarchy is back, baby.
Anarchy is back on the menu, baby.
And it's because people have pointed out it got a, I think it particularly got a buff last season, or was some other GL buff that happened at some point.
I believe the GL buff happened when Witch Queen came out, because weren't all heavy GLs disabled the week Vow was happening? Something, it might have been something like that, or maybe it was all legendary ones or something, because there was all legendary ones.
It was a perk that was breaking it or something.
No, they tried to up the damage for all GLs in Witch Queen, and they accidentally upped it by 200% or whatever.
Yeah, you're right. I totally forgot about that.
It's been a full year since then. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that is pretty insane. But basically, there was a long time ago where Anarchy was like the #1, like it was the most
Season of Splicer,
Season
baby.
of Splicer. Like it was even before that. Like it's been like
when it came out.
Yeah, like since pretty much since it came out, really, it was like
that was Season of the Armory, right? So
yeah, it was when Scourge of the Past came out. So it was I think that was like it was a long time ago. So it was top dog, deep heavy weapon for many years, and they finally took it down, and they did like a big damage nerf. And they
halved its
reserves, and so it's been gone for a while. But with this buff and that previous one, it is back down to the damage it was doing before all of that. But obviously the reserves is still lower. So I think it'll still be totally fine.
Yeah, totally.
Anarchy is back, and it's gonna be that's gonna be fun.
It's good. I only got Anarchy after it was bad, so I am excited to use Anarchy when it's good.
Yeah. I've used it quite a bit. It was a lot of fun. I'm kind of like I get there's definitely a sentiment I saw with this and like some other buffs we'll get to that are kind of bringing back some very meta, quote unquote meta DPS weapons back after they've been DPS metas for so long. I know some people are just like, I don't want to do this all over again, but like, but also like
we have a grappling hook now. Like,
like I personally still really like using it. I always really liked using Anarchy, and it was fun. The kind of the combos you could do with Anarchy. So I'm here for it coming back. And this will also give potential to a lot of other heavy GLs, because I know they've been doing a lot of heavy GLs that have been interesting ones, but it's just they were so weak and kind of weren't really worth using in in-game content. So now we have like, definitely if you're prepping for Lightfall or like us and we're like high level players and playing GMs and endgame and stuff, even not like you can just go run normal Nightfalls. I definitely recommend the week before Witch Queen launches, Wendigo GL is going to be farmable again. Definitely recommend getting a good one of those. If you can get an explosive light one, that's probably be really good next season for some damage.
Yeah, I hope so.
That'll be fun. I'm curious to see GLs back in the game and see how they can stack up with some of these buffs. After the GL buff, we have kinetic weapons. Kinetic weapons are getting their primary weapon damage multiplier increased. So this will like, it'll be one of those things where like they would since it's a multiplier, like it'll kind of be like, it's hard to know exactly from percentage point what that all means, but like ultimately all kinetic weapons across the board will be doing more damage, and that's kinetic primary weapons and special weapons. So like weapons that take green ammo.
This is against unshielded combatants.
Yes,
to be specific. Yes,
and this is also includes a bunch of exotics as well. The exotics are also included in that on top of all the buffs they got. So stuff like Izanagi is getting buffed damage wise. Wither Horde, Touch of Malice, Outbreak. Again, we said Arbalest, but Arbalest is also getting hit with the linear nerf, so that's not getting as much as that. So like again, another one where like Izanagi rockets or Izanagi grenade launchers were like a big meta earlier in like Destiny 2. So I know people are like, well, we're just going to go back to that because Izanagi is going to be really good again.
Yeah, this is interesting because like essentially special weapons going from a 5% buff against unshielded to 15%, and how like Izanagi was the one that was like, oh, that's really, man, that's like 10% more damage on that is going to be strong. Interesting. Yeah, it's going to be really strong. And also like Wither Horde, which these were some of the things like Mercules clarified in the Firing Range interview. And Touch of Malice, it's like, oh yeah, like I did not think of Wither Horde as a kinetic weapon in my head at all. Yeah. But it totally is, and
totally is.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But also like things like what's Succession? Is that the kinetic sniper
from Deepstone?
Deepstone Crypt.
That's
and all kinetic snipers.
All kinetic snipers. The raid kinetic sniper from Kingsfall that's out. That's actually pretty good. He can get osmosis, so like that's pretty good.
Defiance of Yasmin.
Yeah, so that'll be probably a really good, potentially a really good sniper now, doing way more damage. Another thing they pointed out as well in this, there's a kinetic weapon damage perk also coming in Lightfall. So that'll be specifically some kind of kinetic damage perk that is coming, which that is
it's got to be something
interesting.
It's got to be something with unshielded combatants is my guess, like some kind of benefit to hitting them. But yeah, I wonder what that could be.
Yep, I'm very curious what that'll be as well. Yeah, and this I think this will overall just be a good thing, because make your primary weapons are just going to feel a lot stronger across the board. Any kind of I'm trying to think of, like, Bastion. This probably includes Bastion.
Oh yeah, Bastion.
So probably include that. A lot of the kinetic primaries, like, like I said, Outbreak, Touch of Palace.
Yeah, it's hard to. This is a weird one to wrap my head around as to like how impactful it's going to be. Like kinetic shotguns, I tend to run a lot nowadays. So them being stronger is exciting. Yeah, and they also mentioned that stasis weapons were benefiting from the kinetic slot 5%, and they no longer will. So I definitely tend to run stasis primary weapons. So that's a bummer.
Because I definitely have always noticed that they can break shields faster than like most other weapons can against their own shields. So like I think that was more what it was about.
Yeah.
So that's a fair trade, and like they do have to make
strand guns are going to be in there now too.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. Like as in a world now that we have stasis, strand, and now kinetic weapons competing for that slot, they have to make those kinetic weapons more viable, and that this seems like it could definitely do it, and potentially whatever this kinetic damage perk is could be really interesting.
Yeah.
For sure. But after that one there, we get into exotics. So this is, like they had mentioned before, that a bunch of kinetic or exotic weapons, they're kind of getting back around to and giving them these 3.0 subclass verbs that have been introduced. So now they gave us a big list of weapons they are finally giving these to, and there's a lot of cool ones in here, I think.
Yeah.
To give to. So let's just go down the list here. The first one is the Queensbreaker. Man, they're really trying to make Queensbreaker a thing. Queensbreaker blinding effect was underwhelming for heavy weapons, so we've changed that now to how that's deployed. So now its shot says change to nearby enemies and uses Arc 3.0 blinds. So basically, I mean, I'm guessing it's going to be like maybe like a Trinity Goal situation where like it says it chains. This is like chain lightning here.
I don't know if it chains lightning or chain blind. Yeah, that's
the chain the blind. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think. It's chaining the blind. If I had to take a guess,
yeah, I think
it's useful, but like I don't know.
Yeah, again, this is like I'm pretty sure Queensbreaker is a heavy weapon, right?
It is. It's an arc heavy weapon. I was double checking because I thought it was void for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's arc heavy weapon. Then it's gonna have arc 3.0 blind, so we'll have anti-champion capabilities now thanks to that. I forget which champion is. I think that's Unstop or Overload.
That's Unstops.
So, I mean, they're trying to make this a thing, but I just think they just have to give it up. Because I don't know if this is gonna do it, but the next one I'm stoked for.
Yeah, this is great.
This sounds fun. This is Ruin its effigy. Its transmutation sphere slam attack is now going to be the void suppressing, which is super fun. The first thing I said when I read this is I am absolutely literally gonna dunk on some fucking Overload champions. Tell you just get dunked, you motherfuckers, and just dunk that on them. And that can be fun for like a damage phase too, like make an orb and then just run up to a boss and just dunk on it and suppress it, and then your teammates can do a bunch of damage.
And like it was pointed out, like how it's smart because like doing the dunk does good damage, but it leaves you at risk. This is like a good way to like safety your way out of there by suppressing everybody so they can't hurt you. But also like hunters are gonna super take advantage of this with what's their aspect? Trapper's ambush or whatever, where they suppress, they go invisible, right?
Yeah.
So they just go into a crowd and dunk and then disappear.
Yeah, just disappear.
You know? Which sounds cool. That sounds really fun.
Yeah, that sounds super fun. Definitely something this one needed. I'm really glad that they're like that there'll be another buff to some trace rifles here, because the exotic ones definitely needed as we've gotten these other like legendary ones that have the 3.0 perks already, and they've like we're quickly outclassing the legendary or the exotic trace rifles. So them giving more stuff to these ones are fun. And this trace rifles, I think, are just fun in general. I get why they don't make them too overpowered, because they would just then outclass so many other weapons in this game, because it's just a straight laser beam. But I always still like them. So it's a fun change. So next up we have the Leviathan's Breath. Once again, they gave it a buff a few seasons ago. What does it says that can no longer one-hit kill players in the super with a headshot? We fixed that, but also added Volatile, increased the damage versus champions substantially to highlight the anti-champion role. So it applies Volatile on perfect draw impact and increased damage versus champions by 30%. It
already got buffed against champions by 20%. Yeah. So this is like... I cannot fathom how much damage this is going to do to champions.
This is going to absolutely murder unstoppable champions. That's going to be pretty amazing.
Yeah, my concern is that while that's great and all, like it's not doing more damage to anything else. So it's like this isn't going to do boss DPS. Like this isn't going to work anywhere else but against champions, which is so weird. But also I'm really curious.
Yeah, I mean, I guess with the volatile stuff, it can at least, like, if you get a perfect shot on an enemy and it makes them volatile, you can at least make them like explode and hit other enemies with that, because it already does some kind of like blindy kind of explode or whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe that could be good for like crowd control, but like again, I think like again they are saying that they want to highlight the anti-champion roles. It very much feels like if you have a void burn GM and have unstops, you want to probably bring this now.
This thing might like one shot champions at this point. I do not know.
Yeah, you're just gonna burn them. So I'm very curious to see that in action.
Yeah,
that could be fun. Next exotic up. This definitely makes some folks happy. Is 1,000 Voices. Was briefly a top pick in season 14, and that was because they had a seasonal mod called Particle Deconstruction, which made it so when you hit an enemy with a fusion rifle, they would become basically weakened, like how Weaken Clear is for the season. So you just do crazy amounts of damage with fusion rifles that season. But once that went away, it was changed. But here's the description of it. Was that we wanted to lean even more into a chain of solar explosions by adding Scorch. And with the global heavy weapon changes, it's also a strong option. If you have Ember of Ashes equipped, landing a full burst on a single target will trigger an ignition immediately. So there you go. Each explosion now applies +5 or +10 +5 with Ember of Scorches, with Ember of Ashes. So basically, it applies 10 Scorch stacks, but if you have Ember of Ashes, it'll add +5. If you have
so
Ember
15
of Ashes
for each explosion, which is very fun.
Yeah, and you'll have an instant ignition with that. So I look forward to people trying to make this a thing, but ultimately just probably blowing themselves up more, as you always do with 1,000 Voices.
As you should.
But the next one, definitely a lot of solar weapons got some love here, which I'm digging. Next up is Solar, which is Sunshot. Sunshot, it will now also do the apply 10 Scorch and +5 Scorch stacks if you have, I guess, Ember of Ashes. As you get kills. That makes tons of sense because you were already doing 1 billion explosions with Sunshot.
Yeah, and it's not as strong as incandescent, but
yeah,
since you're blowing stuff up, it kind of makes sense.
Yep, for sure. Polaris Lance also got a similar thing, but now it's perfect fifth shot, which normally was an explosion. Now does plus 40 and plus 20 scorch stacks instead of a custom burn. So yeah, that's a lot of scorch.
That's very good.
With that perfect fifth shot. That's pretty cool. Be curious to see what this one, next one I like a lot, and I'm hoping this makes this gun a really interesting pick. Two-tailed fox had tough competition and as a heavy exotic weapon, but now it's the only weapon that can apply subclass verbs from multiple damage types without extra steps. Solar rocket now applies 60 and plus 30 scorch stacks instead of burn, and the void rocket already applied suppress, and the catalyst completes the trifecta. So they are basically are confirming there will be a catalyst with two-tailed fox, and it is probably going to add. I'm going to guess it's going to be arc jolt as the third rocket.
I think I'll be blind. I know it's just because like with suppress, I feel like it may. I guess suppress kind of does the same thing.
That's why I'm thinking jolt, because if they made suppress and blind, they would be doing the same thing.
Yeah, I don't want to get excited about jolt, but I wonder if it makes it fire a third rocket also.
Yes, that would be a pretty crazy catalyst. If it just makes a third rocket that applies jolt to enemies, arc jolt to enemies, or who knows? Maybe, I guess they're saying complete the trifecta, so that probably means it's all the light classes. But it'd be cool. Maybe it's like it plans like a strand effect or something.
Ooh, that'd be sick. Yeah. Also, 60 plus 30 scorch stacks is
pretty nuts.
Very nice.
So yeah, like I'm curious how that works, because then like since you're suppressing them, they'd be taking more damage. So then that other solar rocket would hit for more scorch damage too on top of that. Like, yeah, this thing just seems really cool. And again, I hope it becomes like a good weapon, like I was saying earlier, where they're making more of these weapons be kind of this like prime an enemy and then do like the rest of the team, so the rest of the team can do way more damage. And this seems like them setting up this weapon to like do that with the suppression, but also now scorching with a rocket, and then whatever this third, if it blinds or suppresses or whatever, blind also, or jolts or whatever it does.
Yeah, it gives really it utility against champions. 2 rockets, and you can cause an ignition, which would stop an unstoppable. Suppression is going to stop overloads.
Yep.
And I think this is going to be really good in GMs. Like that's my hope.
I agree. I definitely will be pulling this out for sure for Lightfall to see what's up with this. The next one, they added they have Prometheus Lens. Has utility with its Solar 3.0 we wanted to give it something more spectacular on kills in addition. So they have put incandescent on the catalyst for Prometheus Lens. So that's pretty cool.
Both applies scorch and incandescent.
Yeah,
scorch so dope.
Yep, that's gonna be making a crazy machine, and it makes sense because like literally you can go craft the Dares of Eternity solar rechase path, and you can put incandescent on that. So it made sense to just go all in with this because these are now directly competing more or less, right? So it made sense to like make Prometheus Lens a little bit more potent with this stuff. So that's cool. Mm-hmm. Last one here, and I like this. And I like this again. Once again, Grand Overtures, which increased the damage. It already got a buff, which increased the missile damage. But we also wanted to do more with it, so now they made the catalyst to use arc blind. So now it'll blind enemies.
Yeah, it did blind before, but it didn't do arc blind with the catalyst.
Arc blind, yep. So now it's full on arc blind. Like, yeah, again, I would definitely
have fun, kids.
Have fun. I definitely recommend having this ready for your legendary campaign or whatever, maybe even day 1 raids. Like that, this thing has a lot of potential, I think. And then a couple things here. After this, they go into perks. The first thing they shouted out was there's a strand weapon damage perk coming with Lightfall. So we obviously
means we are getting strand legendary weapons.
We've definitely put it out in trailers and stuff, but they just kind of more directly say it here. like, yes, Strand legendary weapons will be here in Lightfall for sure. And
My guess,
Strand weapon damage perk.
yes, which is cool. I'm curious what it's going to be. My guess is that some of the raid weapons will be Strand, because I just have the feeling that the maybe Neo Muno guns one of them might be Strand.
Yeah, I could see at least one of them being it, just to kind of introduce it to people, right? Like they want to probably have like the one. So I could see at least like one Strand Neo Muno weapon.
It seems like they don't want you to necessarily get into Strand guns until you get the Strand subclass. So that's why I would say like put it in the end game content for this first season, and then maybe start putting in its seasonal weapons next season.
Yeah, for sure. Because I'm sure, like, as much as I don't want too much of this, the reality probably is, and I'm setting myself up for this too, is like we're probably not going to get everything, all Strand things this first release. Like, we're probably going to get like the starting Strand stuff, and we'll probably get aspects and fragments in later seasons. Yeah. As much as I would like more Strand stuff out the gate, that's probably just the reality of it. But besides the Strand weapon damage perk, they're updating, of course, the other perks that work with subclasses. So Osmosis will work with Strand, of course, and then Elemental Capacitor you'll get 20 airborne effectiveness with Strand as well.
Exactly what I thought it would be.
For Elemental Capacitor. So yeah, makes sense. It is pretty much becoming the aerial class. Next up, they talk about rewind rounds from the Vault of Glass weapons. Will be appearing on more weapons in Lightfall, but was custom built to only work on Vault of Glass weapons. So now we've tweaked it to be more general purpose. So yeah, here you go. That's pretty exciting. Rewind rounds is a cool perk. That was on Vault of Glass weapons, but now they're going to be on more stuff. Again, I think that makes sense in terms of, we know there's a lot of Vexy stuff going on. There's definitely some Vex stuff going on in Lightfall, so I could see us getting some other weapons. Maybe that's the seasonal weapons? ? Who knows? We'll have to see. But that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that. Eager Edge is coming back. They're making some more adjustments to that. It had some bugs that need addressing in a previous release. We've now taken the time to do more complete rework, which also let us reduce or remove most of the restrictions that were in place. So, again, this is one of those things where there's people who are like crazy into Destiny speedrunning or being a huge a-hole troll with Eager Edge. It's either one or the other. It's one or the other. So they would know more of what this all is like. And this was all kind of mumbo jumbo to me, frankly. So
seems like a net buff.
Hopefully.
Since they had to like restrict the maximum speed you could do in air, it seems like they're taking that off.
Yeah.
So I hope those people are happy.
Yeah. Hopefully this will let them do some stuff with that. I don't know.
Stop sword swiping me in Wellspring is what I will say. Yeah. And everything else.
Everything else for no good reason. Blinding grenades. Blinding grenades on grenade launchers do not do arc damage. It's not appropriate for them to trigger arc 3.0 blind effects. There you go. There's them. And that was a question of, will blinding needs on GLs proc the blinding for champs? They're saying no. Arc 3.0 blind and this are different. Which that is fine, because those would have made some stuff, I think, way too strong. But they're basically just renaming the perk. Instead of blinding nades, it'll be called disorienting grenades from now on.
Which is good.
Yeah, that's
The worst case scenario would then be like nerfing it into the ground.
Yeah,
and they're not doing that.
They're not doing that. They're just changing the name because it's not the same as Arc 3.0 blind.
I can't get ionic traces out of my blinded enemies anymore, but it's fine.
Yeah. And then the last one, which I admittedly kind of think I saw this coming too, which we talked about a little bit. Vice Stinger is being knocked down a peg. And like they said, Vice Stinger is one of the most desirable origin traits in the game, particularly but not only on linear fusion rifles, to the point where it makes it hard for non-Vice weapons to compete. It's a pretty fair assessment.
Yeah.
So basically, they have made it so this was typically a full reload when the perk was activated. Now it only reloads 25% of the magazine. So definitely a pretty big hit there. But I get it, because holy crap, Taipan was extremely strong because of this.
Yeah, and Reed's Regret as well.
Reed's Regret, right.
Yeah, this is only like a major bummer for me because Crate has become one of my favorite primaries in the game.
Right.
And this is Crate the Great. This is going to knock that down for sure.
Definitely that. And like Funnel Web and stuff too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think for the greater good of knocking Taipan down, I guess it had to be done.
Yeah, and also like Vice was just like so clearly the best origin trait, I think.
For sure.
So
it's definitely hard for other stuff to compete. So I get this change.
Yeah, I get it.
But yeah, that was our that's our weapons tuning stuff. A lot of stuff there. I think generally as everything we've seen so far with Lightfall, it's all been pretty good stuff, and even like a lot of the nerfs and things that are changing in that regard, we kind of already saw coming. Like it's like, yeah, of course they were gonna bring down legendary weapons. They are bringing down linear fusion rifles. Vice Stinger was probably going to be adjusted a little bit. All good things. I'm excited for a lot of those exotic getting 3.0 verbs. I definitely hope we will see some exotic armor get this same treatment, hopefully here. Maybe they'll talk about that in a blog. That's stuff I would like to see. Also get more verbs either added to it or work alongside those things.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see. After that, we did get a Bungie blog, but most of the things we have already gone over were just like updated clarifications for some of these things that were in that TWAB. There was not really a lot of new information besides this one thing which we put out here, and that was they basically told us, usually when a new expansion comes out, there's downtime before the expansion launches, and that is the case here, of course. And we now know Destiny 2 will be brought offline for 24 hours before the launch of Lightfall. So basically the reset day before on the 27th at 9 a.m. Pacific time or 12 Eastern, the game will be brought offline. It'll be offline for a whole day. You can preload the game at this point. They did say that you'll be able to preload it, and like download it on consoles or PC and all that stuff. So that's nice. So you can at least do some preloading and all that. But yeah, this pretty standard.
Yeah, this is what it was last year, right? I'm not crazy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think last year was a full 24 hours. I think the year before that, it wasn't a full 24 hours. I think it was only it was shorter than that. But I think I think last year was 24 hours as well.
Yeah, I remember when Beyond Light came out because we all got together for that because that was the Traveler healing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we were all like hanging out together. Like you get the cutscene where the witness takes the other planets and stuff.
Yeah, it was really good. But yeah, we're getting close to it. They're giving us the deets. Shutting down.
Yeah, it's always exciting once it becomes more real that way.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing was the contest mode. This was through the Destiny 2 team's Twitter. Also, they tweeted the contest mode will last from Friday 10 a.m. Pacific reset through through Sunday morning. So it's gonna be 48 hours, like last year, only that they are planning it ahead of time. And it's Friday, Saturday instead of Saturday, Sunday. And if you're upset about this, you're wrong.
Yes.
And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be in that because I'm good.
Yeah. I think we talked about it a little bit on a previous episode. I will also not be participating in the contest mode raid. I'm still deciding back and forth if I want to watch it because I do like to try and go into some of that stuff blind, but also like at this point, it's like I think I might just be okay watching some of it. And then going in and doing it with some folks afterwards.
I'm going to watch it because like this will be the first time that I will very decidedly not be playing.
Right.
So I can watch it. I don't have to worry about anything else. So I'm just gonna chill, wait for somebody to beat it, and then log in to get whatever unlocks afterwards.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think I'll watch it too. Yeah. One thing I will say, and this is something that's totally unexpected because I know you've not watched before. But I know in recent years, it's become a weird thing to watch. Specifically if you're like watching like the hardest core folks do it, like Salt and like Dado's team and stuff. They have adopted the thing where like they're going in so hard that like they full on just like mute comms while they're doing it because they don't want other streamers or people coming in and like hearing what they're saying and be like, they're doing this, they figured it out, we're gonna do this, and taking things, right? Like they have been Salt's team very much clamps down on that stuff, and Dado did that. Like I remember I was watching the King's Fall World's First stuff, and like you can go back and watch. Well, or what they do is like when they're doing it live on stream, they mute the comms, so you can't, so you don't hear them talking.
Yeah, they're recording it,
but they record it, and then like when they put it up after the fact, then you can hear what they're talking about and like them figuring it out, which is a fine way to do it. But like it does definitely make the stream of it a little less
the viewing experience. Yeah, it hurts
of the stream. It hurts a little bit, but there probably will be plenty of people just like doing it for whatever and just kind of doing it on their own time and figuring it out.
Yeah, that's usually like who I'm gonna watch. Like I'll probably like watch like Fallout or something.
Yeah. I'll probably go to one of the smaller streamers who are just kind of
have Dado up on the side.
I've been fucking around, so you can kind of get a little bit more of that fun experience. But I might do that as well. We'll see it. We'll see how it shakes out. But yeah, that's I don't know if there's too much else we can really go over here. I think we covered.
Yeah, the only other things from the Firing Range podcast that I wrote down, I tried to like get some notes from it, was there's going to be a new rocket launcher perk in season 21.
Cool.
Which I'm curious. Yeah, I wonder what that could be. Like if it's like a damage perk type thing. Rockets are definitively not getting nerfed, so there's no other second half of this.
Yeah.
So rockets are probably going to be the move for big DPS in the new raid, at least next season.
Definitely might be a quick and easy go-to option. Yeah.
Yeah, and because you and I had talked about like them hopefully buffing snipers, Mercury's had some better insight on that of like they don't want to do it right now just because snipers can get out of control with how powerful they can get because you can do damage from such a safe distance. But Bungie is looking at them, and they're looking at primaries in PvE in general, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, I think that comes with like that kinetic weapon kind of multiplier buff. Like it makes sense for them to like try things like that, like they're doing with Lightfall this season, to see where things come out from that.
Yeah,
before they make any other bigger changes. For sure. Cause another interesting thing, which was like just like a general kind of discussion in this was like their overall like balancing philosophy, which like made things a lot of sense, which was one of the like a big discussion they had in the podcast as well, of like if they buff things, certain weapons too much, it can kind of very rapidly invalidate like entire archetypes or like little families of weapons. So like it makes sense for when like, I'd personally really like pulse rifles to be much stronger than they are in some PvE activities. And I think I think they still talked about it in that podcast too, but I get why they're hesitant to do it, because if pulses were like were incredibly strong, then you'd have a scenario where like, why would I'm pretty much going to want to run pulse rifles over like auto rifles and probably even scout rifles, because they can pretty much do the work that both of them can in some regards, right? So like I understand like that kind of these kind of incremental changes to see how they do, and if it's not enough, then they keep putting it on with that stuff. So
yeah. And that's like, as I've been playing more this past year, right? Like my kind of second year playing a lot of Destiny, I've learned to appreciate like the different archetypes of things and how like that can make such a difference. Like why do I like rapid fire frame auto rifles? Like, why is that my favorite weapon archetype? And like kind of digging into that and figuring that out.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you learn to appreciate it. It's like I started using precision and high impact frame autos this season because they added a couple of good ones, and I was like, oh, like I'm starting to get a much better idea of like where these fit in versus like how I like to play. So yeah, it's good to have that diversity.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, that was it for this week in Destiny, I think. There was a leak, but I don't really want to talk about it here, but I'll bring it up that I saw some things, and they're probably with things that are going to be revealed next week. So that's probably why I don't want to talk about it, because they're like, it's nothing like substantial. It's just, it was things that were like, okay, they're talking about this week. That's good to hear. That's good to know. And that's all you need to know, basically. Yeah. Because like it didn't really give any actual valuable information, because the actual valuable information will be in what they're going to show probably. But yeah, I'm leaving it there. We won't talk about it.
Just look forward to this Wednesday at Bungie.
This Wednesday at Bungie, I'm sure we will have another week where we will get some fun blogs and maybe trailers or something, or maybe some other fun updates. Like I'm curious too, because I know they said there will be crafting updates, and there also supposed to be some other besides the focusing stuff. There's supposed to be other updates to like the Vanguard and the Strike playlist in some regard. I know those are things that are coming, so I'm curious like when they're going to talk about that, if at all.
It's got to be a legendary playlist.
I would hope. I hope it's a legendary playlist. Like I have to go back to the because it was discussed in like that they revealed Lightfall, that original initial reveal. Then they did like Flawless did like a post discussion with a bunch of developers, and they talked about it during there. And I want to say they said something like it came from Joe Blackburn himself, where he said this will be the first time they introduce something called like reprised strikes or remastered strikes. And he said like I just remember it was like he was saying like the first introduction. So I'm assuming it more so means it's not like it's not going to be a situation like the Cosmodrome strikes where they're just bringing back old ones. I think it's going to be more like they're going back to old strikes that are current in the game and like updating them more properly to be like more in line with like what the more modern feel of Destiny is, what Destiny 2 is. But I don't know. Like again, it's just one of those things where they've like I remember those kind of general words being said in that discussion after the Lightfall reveal, and I want to know what that's about, basically. Besides obviously other big things like Strand and stuff that are very obviously coming. Yeah.
Question for you, just since we wrap this up faster than normal. The raid, back on the raid topic. Yep, obsessed. Do you think, because we really thought, or I guess we hoped that Hive Guardians would play some aspect into the raid,
right?
Which they're at the door, and then that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Do you think that there will be tormentors in the raid?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's hard to say because we don't really know where the raid is. Because like the raid could not even be on Neomuna.
It could be displaced in time at this point.
Yeah, it's like just ferried from time and space. So maybe we go to like some big derelict ship or something that's like somewhere else we don't even know about, or maybe
love a good derelict ship.
Or some other weird unknown thing. So we're going to some weird dimension or something. Again, it's hard to say. It could be something that's like trapped in the Vex network or something. Like
it's Qoria.
It's Qoria's back. Qoria's back, baby. She has a giant shank on her too now. I mean, what?
She's got the big hands, but they're both holding knives. Oh man,
that'd be fun. I would like to see them because obviously we've not seen like flat out combat with the tormentors yet. So
we don't even know how we fight them.
Yeah, we don't know how it doesn't seem like they're things we're just shooting at, but like we've definitely seen them fuck up some guardians in footage for sure, like shooting big scythe blasts or literally grabbing them and throwing them and stuff. So
yeah,
definitely curious what's all with that. But maybe they're in the raid, maybe they're not. Who knows?
The one thing that I am hoping is that we get with the second darkness subclass that we get some form of stasis and strand shields. I feel like the match like game changes
enemy shields
in a way. Prep the game more for something like that.
Sure.
I know shields are not.
So we find if there's just no shields.
Yeah, that's fair. I understand shields are not the most important thing, but I like the idea of adding more synergy into those guns in combat.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's going to be more from like the perks now, right? Like they're introducing perks that can be applied in combat and synergize with our classes. I think that's, at least personally for me, a little bit more interesting than just like, oh, this guy's a green shield now. I get to shoot green at this green shield.
Green shield sounds sick though.
I don't. Yeah, I guess, but I don't know. I feel like we've had shields in this game for so long. Sure. I'm kind of just over those kind of shields, I guess, per se.
Sure, fair.
But yeah, I'd be curious. Yeah, maybe if they have other things tied to that. But yeah, more to come in the world of Destiny. We'll be back next week to talk about whatever we see next week in the world of Destiny. Fingers crossed for Strand, as of course. But whatever it is, I'll be excited to talk to you about it, Alex. We'll be back next week. See you later, everyone. Bye.
Bye.